Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it's been a couple months since I made a video, about 3 it seemed like. I know I've been like not consistent with this and I have no excuse to give you. Well, I do have an excuse. The excuse I'm going to give you is going to tie into what I'm going to talk about today. So life happens, it happens to all of us. And so for me, I had gotten to a place where I got stuck into like with jobs and just not feeling like I wasn't feeling it anymore in terms of like where I work. And so due to that, like I kind of like was under a lot of stress and slipped into like a small stage of depression shortly. I was in and out of it. And so this morning when I was getting ready for work, because I'm getting ready for work. So this morning I was getting ready for work and I'm like doing my makeup and I'm like, I really, really want to just get back into making videos and, just giving a lot of encouragement and support. So I said, you know what? And so I was thinking about all these topics that I could talk about. And I said, you know what? Why not be real? So I wanted to be real and with everyone and talk about depression and anxiety and mental illnesses overall. It's such a big stigma. Let me just start up and say it's such a big stigma, especially in the African American community or just community with minorities, period. When you talk about mental illnesses and, depression, anxiety, or, even bipolar, schizophrenia and things like that, it's like a very sensitive subject. I can only speak for myself and my community, being that I'm an African American woman. Growing up, we didn't really, I know I was never educated on what the symptoms were, what the signs were, what causes any of this. And so it wasn't until I got to undergraduate, when I was in North Carolina, when I kind of like was first introduced to or being educated on mental illnesses and depression and things. And so it was my first experience. Like I said, I think I probably always struggled with anxiety and, and depressive symptoms always. But in undergrad, things had got like, you homesick, school, college is just a new world. Guys and things like that. And so I was introduced to the college therapist, which is one of the reasons why I'm a therapist today, because it was life-changing for me. And so she assessed me and she recommended that I go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist just for additional support and, to see what their thoughts were. And so that's when I first learned that, hey, what you're dealing with, is normal, and that you're not alone. You have depressive symptoms. For me in the past, when I would become anxious, I would almost like overreact and I would obsess and I would panic, or when I would become depressed, I would totally isolate. These are just some signs and symptoms. Isolate, I would lose my appetite. I would, I would cry, long period of sadness and, or short periods of sadness. And so I didn't take all the recommendations then, which, of course I continue with therapy because that's like the best thing ever. And, I think it was recommended that I take like some antipsychotics or like depressive medication. And so I was like, no, I'll stay away from that. But I continued with therapy, and which was helpful. So that was just a way that I coped then. Then once I graduated and went into grad school, depression or anxiety just don't leave you. Some people think like, oh, I'll go to therapy and I'll never deal with it again. Those of us who struggle with anxiety and depression or any other mental illnesses, I want to say it's like lifelong. It's not something that you wake up one day and it's gone forever. And I wish it would be that case, and I'd sit here and telling you a lie if I said it do. Sometimes you may not see or struggle with it for months or maybe a year or years. In my case, when I got to South Florida, I did notice that I began to feel much more anxious. It was a new environment. totally different place. I mean, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And so then I was in grad school. So school, it could be another trigger for stress or depression, you know. And so I continued with therapy. And again, that was like life changing for me too. And, you know, she recommended me too to continue with therapy, talk therapy, and perhaps think about, you know, taking antidepressants or psychotics or anything, medication of that sort. And so for me, I learned how to cope with my therapy. I continued with therapy for years. I got into Zumba. You know, I love, 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 love Zumba. And so Zumba and going to the gym and the sauna was ways that I cope with it. You know, talking, instead of isolating, actually like talking, reaching out to my friends and family. And reaching out to them, reaching out to them, like I said in the past, I would isolate, but then reaching out to them, I would have to educate them. So I educated my friends and family on what I was experiencing, signs that they should look out for, you know, because I think it's important too that you educate the people closest to you. I think that's why it's such a stigma, because people just don't know. So educating them and saying, hey, you know, it's not that I don't want to talk to you, but I'm beginning to feel like this. And when you educate them, that would help them to, you know, be more supportive or ask you how could they be of help. So, you know, talking more about it with my closest friends and families, and just finding little things that I love to do. You know, I'm not the best cook, I'm not the best chef, but, you know, that was the way that I coped in the kitchen, cleaning up, or just, you know, just a lot of things. And so once therapy ended for me in grad school, I think I tried maybe like 2 years ago to pick back up with a few therapists, and it was not helpful. However, I just learned to cope with it and cope with it my own way. Like I said, it's not that you can go long periods of time without having an anxiety episode or depressive episode. So for like the last year and a half or so, I haven't had an episode. You know, of course I've had bad days or sad days, you know, because I went through a breakup, and I lost friendships, and school, it's so overwhelming. It still is overwhelming for me, but I knew how to manage it. But lately, back to my point, when I fell off with like blogging and making the videos, you know, I was just kind of dealing with a lot of stressors, you know, hence in the past, like I said, I would isolate and not eat and things like that. And I've been eating more. So I picked up a couple pounds, but I'm trying to like work that out. So I said all that to say, you know, I know there's a stigma. Just because you struggle with depression or anxiety, or perhaps you were diagnosed with some other mental illness or mental disorder, doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't make you, you know, a horrible person, or, you know, you're not going to succeed in life, because I manage, you know, I'm a doctoral candidate, you know, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm a girlfriend, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, you know, so I still am able to fulfill my roles and my duties in life, and I still work as a therapist. And, you know, though I educate people, I have to educate myself too. Know when to take time for yourself. You know, that's another way, you know, to cope. I don't think it's fair that there are a lot of people like myself who struggle with certain things and who are afraid to like really talk about it. You know, we shouldn't have to be alone in this, especially in the Black community. You know, of course, church, you know, because that's what I was taught, you know, pray about it. Of course, praying, that's, you know, your higher power. That is a good way to cope. Of course, praying and go to church or whatever you do spiritual, if you have spiritual or religious rituals, of course they help. But I think we have to get out of the mindset and the notion what goes on in this house stays on this house, or that's, you know, just not talk about it, or, you know, no one understands, because there's always someone who understands. And tea, which is another way how I cope with when I'm feeling stressed. It's something that I do in the morning. Drink tea. I can't go without my tea. I'm not a coffee drinker. So, my bad. So, really talking about it, really acknowledging, yeah, we have to get over this notion that, you know, mental illness means that you're a psychopath, you know, and I hate to use that word and go to the extreme, but that's how extreme people make it. and just really like educate yourself, do some research on it. And those of you who struggle, who may be struggling with it, get help. You know, you don't want to get to a point where you may be experiencing suicidal thoughts, you know, and that's just a level of extreme. And it doesn't mean just because you struggle with depression or anxiety, bipolar, any of that, that you're going to get to the point of suicide, because I've never tried to attempt to harm myself. But I'm just saying, like, you don't want it to get to that point. I was also telling my boyfriend, I think what will be helpful if we kind of like target or like find another term, because I think when people hear mental disorder, mental illness, they're like, oh, what the heck? You know, I am not crazy. But I think we have to like kind of like find them. I think that would be helpful. Find another term. I can't think of any, but once I do, I'll make sure I coin it, bag it, get paid for it. I think once we find and coin another term, people will be more receptive to like accepting that, you know, I struggle with this and I want to get help. So I say, you know, reach out to friends, family, go to like your local community agencies, or, you know, Google. Everything is Googleable, is that a word? But you can Google, do some research on finding help, seeking help. They have hotlines out there. I used to work for a suicide hotline, or just like counseling hotlines, and really get the help that you need and you deserve. And you're not alone in that. So you guys tell me your take and what you think about mental illnesses and mental disorders and depressions and anxiety, or anything else that you probably may have struggled with or are struggling with. And so that's all I really wanted to talk about. And I'm happy, I actually feel lighter that I put it out there, I broadcast it out there. So let me know something else that you really want me to talk about. All right, you ladies have a good day.